Hi everyone, today we're going to look at one of my all-time favorite vessels. This is an overlooked ocean liner, tend to be ignored in favor of the larger, flashier vessels. We're going to be checking out the Grasse. This French ocean liner entered service in 1924. It had been ordered and was under construction from 1921, but due to various factors, construction was slow. This ship was always meant to be an intermediate vessel, not meant to be one of the larger, flashier vessels, but still, this ship had its charm. As you can see from its layout, it's quite ordinary, nothing too crazy that would be on display with the French in the 1930s. The Grasse's vital statistics were as follows. As built, the ship weighed 17,759 gross tons. Its original length was 552 feet, which equates to about 168 meters. Had a beam of 71 feet, which is about 21, almost 22 meters. And had 4 steam turbines driving 2 propellers at a reasonable speed of 17 knots. As new intermediate tonnage would eventually enter service, such as the Lafayette and the Champlain, to keep up with the trends, the Grasse would be refitted and some of its superstructure would be extended to cover some more space. And during the Second World War, the ship would be taken in hand and used as a training ship for the German Navy for their U-boats. Once the war was over and the French authorities went back to check on their ship, they found that the Grasse had been sabotaged, but thankfully they were able to salvage it and rebuild the ship. In the time that it took for them to completely refit and rebuild the Ile-de-France, as well as what would eventually become the Liberty, for a brief moment in time, the renewed de Grasse would be their flagship, entering service with a new single funnel. This humble vessel became the flagship for the French up until the much larger vessels would enter service. One interesting passenger in 1949 was a certain Jacqueline Bouvier, who was traveling to Paris to study abroad. She would ultimately be more famous as the wife of President Kennedy. With new tonnage in hand, the de Grasse became surplus to requirements and very quickly found a new employer. Canadian Pacific in 1953 had not only lost one of their ships to fire, but also needed every passenger berth they could get because for the coronation of the Queen Elizabeth, it was believed that there would be an uptake in traffic with very loyal colonists wanting to go and see their new monarch. So, with honestly just a paint job, the hull was painted white, the funnel was given the buff and the checkered colors of Canadian Pacific, and renamed the Empress of Australia, even though this ship never ever reached Australian shores, which is ironic. However, for this stopgap service, this ship was perfect for what they needed. Once the coronation festivities was over and traffic returned to normal, and with Canadian Pacific about to roll out a series of 3 brand new cutting-edge vessels, again, this ship was surplus to requirements. And so it was sold to the Italians. Operated by Ciosa Lines with a blue funnel and renamed Venezuela, this ship was pressed into service operating between Italy and South America, and proved to be a popular vessel. So popular that in 1960, to improve its performance, the straight stem was removed and a far more rakish, modern bow was tacked on. And on the forefoot, it was given a bulb to improve its performance. And suddenly, from certain angles, this ship suddenly looked young again. Although, if you were to look at this ship from the stern quarter, it's still pretty much a 1920s vessel. However, Venezuela seemed destined for a long and successful career on the South American run. Until, on one particular voyage, a string of events would lead to its demise. Off Cannes in France on the night of the 17th of March 1962, Venezuela, the once humble French ship, the Grasse, ran aground. And it was done so in a series of mysterious circumstances. The ship was carrying bullion on board. The radio room had a mysterious fire. While these all seem quite coincidental, it doesn't help to think that maybe they were all connected in some way, shape, or form. But the truth of the matter is, the ship was firmly wedged onto the rocks, and at one point things were serious because the ship was listing over at 20 degrees. Thankfully, the ship remained very securely wedged on the rocks, the ship did not continue rolling over, and everyone was safely evacuated. The ship would be salvaged, but it was determined, due to the fact that the ship was almost 50 years old, and with all the damage done to its hull, that it would be uneconomical to repair this ship. And so sadly, the Venezuela, the once humble de Grasse, was towed to La Spezia and scrapped. And thus ended the very interesting life of this wonderful ship. Thankfully, we have one book that does cover the life of this ship in far more detail, and that is this one, De Grasse, written by Gilles Barnichon and Pierrick Roulet. French authors, I apologize for the pronunciation, and you can check out my book review about this down below. I've covered this book, and this book is all you need that will give you every information about this humble ship and its long and fascinating career. And in that book are some incredible photos, rarely seen, especially when searching online. There are some photos in here that you will only see in print that haven't been digitized yet. So it is a feast for the eyes and plenty of information about this wonderful vessel. Check it out, learn more about the De Grasse, learn more about intermediate liners, because sometimes these ships had far more interesting and varied careers than the bigger, flashier flagships. So by all means, check out De Grasse.